Now on Sunrise, detained at the Canadian border, while U.S. border agents are holding a mother and her 4 American children. Plus, residents forced to jump out of windows to escape the flames of a massive apartment fire. A day later, authorities have made an arrest. Your news starts now. Good morning, and thanks for getting up with us on this Saturday morning. I'm Libby Dowsett. We will get to your headlines in just a minute. But first, let's check in with Celine Stevens for our first look at your Saturday forecast.
Good morning and happy Saturday. Temperatures are going to continue to warm up. We're going to be seeing temperatures hit around 80 degrees by noon. By the end of the day, we're going to be seeing temperatures in the upper 80s. It's going to be a lot like yesterday. You'll see across the map by the time we get to around noon, temperatures again around the 80-degree mark here at home. We're looking at 87 in the Dalles, along the coast, 60s, 69 in Tillamook, 61 in Newport. Again, by end of day, those temperatures continue climbing, 95 in the Dalles, 72 in Timberline, along the coast, more 70s. So overall, we're looking at a pretty warm Saturday. That trend continues as we get into Sunday. And the good news is we also stay nice and dry. You'll see no moisture, it looks like, in the forecast for the rest of our weekend. Conditions are going to remain nice and dry and warm and clear. The only thing we're looking out for is as we look into next week, we're going to be seeing hot temperatures. So we have issued a weather impact alert for Wednesday and Thursday. Temperatures are going to be reaching the upper 90s. We have a potential to even hit triple digits. Overall, we're going to be dealing with those dry conditions and again, those hot temperatures. We'll talk about more what else to expect for the rest of your next week coming up in a bit.
All right. Well, this morning, American authorities say they have detained an Oregon mother and her children at the Canadian border. That Portland mom and her 4 young kids were detained in Washington during a visit with family at a park that reaches across the 49th parallel. Alma McCarty breaks down the case for us.
A mother and her 4 U.S. citizen children from my district have been in an inhumane situation.
Congresswoman Maxine Dexter calling out U.S. Customs and Border Protection outside a facility in the small city of Ferndale, Washington.
She's been denied access to counsel. She's been denied access to her U.S. representative. If we accept that citizen children can be taken without cause, without due process, that mothers can be disappeared across state lines, we surrender our democracy.
That mother, Jackie Merlos, her mom, and 4 children traveled up to a well-known meeting spot on the U.S.-Canadian border, Peace Arch Park.
For years, people have used it as kind of a neutral area where they can see friends and family.
But that meeting with her sister ended in detention. Here's Mimi Letnich, close friend and guardian to Merlos' children.
Her sister, who's a Canadian citizen, stepped over the line when she was saying goodbye.
Following that fateful farewell on June 28th, Mimi says Border Patrol approached, arresting Merlos, detaining her and her kids. Days later, she says ICE picked up Merlos' husband, Carlos, in Portland, taking him to the facility in Tacoma.
They're the kind of people you want in society. They're the people that, you're lucky enough to have as friends.
But a Customs and Border Protection spokesperson claims the mother was arrested for trying to smuggle, quote, illegal aliens into the U.S. In a statement, they added her children were present during the smuggling attempt, and she requested the children remain with her during detention. Len Saunders, an immigration attorney in Blaine, Washington, weighed in on the detention.
Something doesn't add up here. It doesn't add up that a mom would bring her 4 American kids if she was trying to help smuggle aliens into this country. So I'd be interested to know what the final details are and if Homeland Security is being honest here and upfront.
And Saunders told us this Ferndale facility is not meant for lengthy stays. The family's attorney says while Jackie is not a citizen, she's applied for a special kind of visa, and those documents are pending. The attorney also says she's not been charged with any crime.
Let him go. Hey, let go.
In Southern California, video appears to show an immigrant agent immigration agent, detain a landscaper from Honduras at a medical facility. This was Tuesday in the city of Ontario in the western area of Los Angeles. Employees at the clinic say the man was working outside for a landscaping company when he was approached by an agent wearing a mask. He ran into the medical center for help, and that's when staff members say they tried to intervene.
Seeing the fear in his face, hearing it in his voice, all that just breaks your heart, right? Realizing that, again, this person is someone that is working, that is trying, working, seeking a better life, and is now between, armed, masked men with guns and nurses that are trying to figure out what's going on.
Homeland Security says staff, quote, assaulted law enforcement and obstructed the arrest. The landscaper was taken to a federal detention center. A man has been arrested accused of starting this fire at his own East Portland apartment. Sean Schwartz faces arson, reckless endangering, and criminal mischief charges. Investigators say he lived at the complex. The landlord tells us 6 units are a total loss, leaving at least a dozen people without homes. 8 people had to be rescued from the structure on East Burnside and 104th, and some told us they jumped out of their windows in order to escape. 2 people were hospitalized with burns, one from a broken ankle from jumping. And here's one resident who told us he woke up to someone yelling, "Fire."
Like, it was like you kind of had to like just run for your life. It was the hottest I've ever experienced. It was an inferno. It was really scary. Trying to run past the flames, I got a little bit scalded here on my arm and on my neck.
Well, Portland Fire has not said exactly how the fire was started, but once again, they say a suspect, a resident of that building, has now been charged with arson. News about layoffs at one of Oregon's largest employers has just gone from bad to worse. In an updated WARN notice, Intel says nearly 2,400 Oregon employees will be laid off on Tuesday. That is up from the 530 we first reported. The layoffs will impact 4 campuses in Aloha and Hillsborough. Earlier this week, we talked to the Washington County chair, who says the effects could ripple beyond Silicon Forest and across the state.
Those employees are no longer paying the state income tax, which has a ripple effect through all of our state because of those state income taxes go to fund school districts elsewhere in our state. They go to fund, prisons and all kinds of health and human services.
Intel announced last month it planned to reduce its worldwide factory workforce by 15 to 20% due to financial challenges. A woman who lives near the South Portland ICE facility and the near nightly protests is now suing the city because of all the noise. Well, sirens like that, along with bullhorn messages from protesters, are among the noises Cloud Elvengrel says are making it, quote, torture to stay in her home. She lives in low-income housing just across the street from that ICE facility. The noises, according to the lawsuit, have been happening well into the night for weeks, and the plaintiff even believes her hearing has been damaged.
She's not saying that people shouldn't be able to stand out there and wave their signs and have, supportive honks every now and then come through. That's not what this is. She wants the weaponized noise to stop. She wants the city of Portland to come in and do their job.
The lawsuit asks the city to enforce its noise laws and increase the police presence in the area during protests. We've reached out to the city for comment, but have yet to hear back. A Republican state senator thinks Oregon is focusing efforts in the wrong area when it comes to homelessness. On this week's edition of Straight Talk, Tim Gordon sits down with two Senate leaders from both parties to recap the long legislative session. Among other things, they discussed how one of the governor's priorities this year was to direct more funding toward housing development. Republican State Senator Daniel Bonham thinks a different approach is needed.
We're spending a lot of money on housing, and I don't believe you can house your way out of homelessness. I don't think any state in the nation, any jurisdiction in the nation has been able to do that. You do have to start with the care and the treatment, and you have to get people into a good place.
Tim also spoke to the senators about the lack of a transportation funding package this session and our state's educational shortfalls. You can watch the full episode of Straight Talk tonight at 6:30 here on KGW or Monday night at 7. You can also catch it anytime on our free TV app, KGW Plus.